Good morning. We are in Acts chapter 1. I just flipped to Luke. There's Acts. And we're going to start in verse 12. It says, "Then they returned to Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet." Just another way of saying the Mount of Olives, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day journey. So, a Sabbath day journey. How long do we want to spend on this? So a Sabbath day journey was 2,000 cubits, which is about 0.568 of a mile. I guess that's pretty precise, not necessarily an about. But it was just over half a mile. What is a Sabbath day journey? Why a Sabbath day journey? Well, the Jews had their laws, and they interpreted those laws, and then they interpreted the interpretations of those laws. And then they interpreted the interpretations of those laws, all of which just created more laws. And so, when God made the Sabbath for them, that was the idea. The Sabbath was a day of rest. It says in Exodus that he was doing it for them to rest, for them to take a break, so that they wouldn't work themselves too much, which quite often many of us are very prone to do. And they turned it into something heavy. Instead of being a relaxing time, it became a stressful time, a time with rules, a time with expectations, the things that you're supposed to get done and not supposed to get done. And so among these rules was the idea that you can't walk too far, because if you walk too far, that's a burden. And therefore, they try to come up with a plan. Well, what's a good distance people can walk? How about 2,000 cubits? Sounds good to me. And so they came up with the rule of 2,000 cubits. It's fascinating today that many of these laws still exist. And if you go to Israel, it is just mind-blowing. Some of the laws and some of the ways that the Jews have found ways around the laws. Because that ends up being what happens is it became more about following rules and not so much about why are we even doing these things. And so, some of my favorites is they have Shabbat elevators. That's a pretty common one. I think Estella, you're watching, Estella. I remember I have a picture of you coming out of the Shabbat elevator. So the Shabbat elevators, they stop on every floor so that the Orthodox Jews practicing Sabbath, Shabbat, they can get on the elevator but not have to hit any buttons. It's okay to ride the elevator, but if you hit the button, you are activating an electronic device which they consider kindling a fire, and therefore is breaking the law. But you can hop on the elevator and it opens on every single floor. That way, you're not breaking the law. They have Shabbat pens. You see, they determined that to really write something, it must be lasting. But if it's only temporary, then it's not actually writing. And so they have pens with basically disappearing ink that the doctors or people will use when they have to write up something. It has to be written, but doesn't necessarily have to stay written. If you write it and then you can make a photocopy of it after Shabbat ends, but then the ink will disappear. That way it wasn't really permanent, so it wasn't really writing. They have Gentiles whom they hire to go and do things for them on Shabbat so that they don't have to do them. I mean, this list can go on and on. There's some fascinating things. Not just the weird rules, but the weird ways they found ways around the rules. I think one of the more interesting ones for me has always been that certain burdens you're allowed to carry, within your home, but you're not allowed to leave your home with this stuff. For instance, pushing a baby in a stroller would be a burden. You're bearing a burden if you took that stroller out on the town. But if it's within your home, well, then it's okay. Well, what's a home? Well, obviously it's within the building walls of your house, but what about my front porch? What about my front yard? Is that within my home? I mean, that's my property. Well, then, of course, you can walk in that area. Well, how do I define the area? Well, they would then take a little like a line, like a fishing line, and they would kind of suspend it around the area you live, and that made it all within your dwelling place, and therefore it was okay for you to walk with the stroller in that area. But somewhere along the line, they came up with the idea that, well, whatever area is within the fishing line, you are allowed to walk within that area. And I heard that some while back, the Orthodox community in San Francisco was trying to get a whole area of the city surrounded by a fishing line, because then they could walk from their homes to the synagogue with their strollers, and it'd be okay. Because, deep down, God really just cared that we were walking within a fishing line circle. That's the problem when our relationship with God turns into a religion of rules rather than us actively seeking the God of the universe, talking to him, expecting him to talk back, expecting there to be communication and relationship taking place. And we turn relationship into religion. And that is, what we see today, though, still in churches. Oftentimes, we can console ourselves and think we're doing a good job as long as we check certain boxes, as long as we do certain things. As long as I show up to church and I do all the things I do at church, I write that check, I serve in this ministry. Sometimes that maybe makes us think that God doesn't want to be the God of our homes, the God of our workplace, the God of our early morning, and the God of our late nights. You see, a relationship isn't something that gets put on the shelf depending on which place you're located. It's something that's active and always going. It's something that you're always a part of and you're always doing. We are continually, working out our relationships with people. And that's what God wants with us. He wants a relationship. He wants something that is not bound by rules, but is truly something that is just worked on, built up, and intensified, and made more intimate over time. If we make it simply rules, we'll end up finding ourselves looking a whole lot like these Jewish people. And I mean, we're not at the place yet where we might say, well, at least I'm not hopping on an elevator that opens and closes at every floor. But it can quickly turn that way if we're not careful. And so I think oftentimes the best way to know how our relationship with God is absolutely those times that have nothing to do with church, nothing to do with our regular routines, and it's really examining where the Lord is in our lives during that 9 to 5 period. Where is the Lord in our life when we're just home alone? Am I longing to go and watch a show? Or am I actually looking for a break in my day so that I can go and be with Him? There are things that I love and I enjoy. And so I try to seek those things in my life when I find time. Wouldn't it be amazing if that was our Lord? If God was the thing, we tried to sneak in when we found time. If we were looking for ways to sneak a little extra time in with Him. I think any a wise and mature married man could tell a young married man how important it is, get a date night, get a chance to take your bride away and go be with her. It'll mean a lot. How often are we looking for a date time with Him? Oh, I know, I have my morning devotional time. But what about something else? Lord, am I trying to fit you in here? Am I trying to fit you in there? Am I just trying to sneak a little more time in with you because I'm in love with you and I enjoy our relationship? So it's just an encouragement for us all. Pause, think, reflect. God, am I in a relationship with you where I'm seeking your face and I want to be with you and I want to spend time with you and I want to do things with you? Or am I just satisfied with what I have determined is an acceptable practice of my religion? I never want to end up like those Pharisees ended up. I never want to end up like the Orthodox Jews are today, where they assume that as long as they check the box, they're okay. Something that makes me sad, and maybe this will be a closing point, and let's make this short today. You know, the Jews have to wash their hands 3 times. It's a ceremonial cleansing that they do, and they'll do it after using the restroom, but they'll also do it, going out as they go to the wall. And as you go to the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, the key place of worship today, you'll see these washing stations, and in them there'll be cups. The cups have 2 handles because if you accidentally touched your hands together while washing, that would defile each other. You'd have to start over. So there's 2 handles. That way, as you're switching hands, you don't accidentally touch the other hand. And they're supposed to wash their hands under moving water 3 times. So they have the cup so they can pour it out. I think a modern faucet would probably meet that need, but they've always used cups, so they got to stick with them. But I've watched these guys. They go up and they get it, and it's like slosh, 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 wipe, wipe, and they walk off. And it's just kind of it's so fast because they have to do it. I never want my time with God to be something I have to do. I want it to be something I long to do. I want it to be something that I am trying to find extra ways and extra possibilities to sneak a little bit more in. I want Him to be the love of my life. So, are you trying to sneak more of God in your day-to-day? Just you and Him. No distractions, nothing else. Just getting alone with the lover of your soul and just spending time in His presence. Having a real relationship instead of just a religion. God bless you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow.